Hello everyone. A while back, I made a ship comparison video between the Freelancer base and the Cutlass Black. To say the least, you guys hated it. Later on, I made a better review on the Freelancer. You guys liked that. So today, I'm going to complete the other half and review the Cutlass Black. And while I used to have a pretty bad opinion on it, that has all changed. Join me as we take a look at the direct rival of the Freelancer and see just how well they compare. My name is Puffin King, and without further ado, let's get right into the video. The constant battle between the Freelancer and the Cutlass has been a long and brutal one. The reason is because the type of people these ships target are probably the vast majority of Star Citizen's player base. Both of these ships are step-ups from the starter ships. They are larger, more powerful, and are packed with many more features and capabilities. Another major reason people upgrade to these is as an introduction to multi-crewing. If you don't have any friends, you can still enjoy the ship just fine by yourself. But one of the greatest appeals is their price. If you're looking to invest a little more into the game, but you don't want to spend hundreds to even thousands of dollars, a bit of research will likely land you on one of these ships, if not the 300, 100, or Avenger series. All of these ships are appealing because they are so versatile. If you haven't found what aspect of the game you want to enjoy the most, then why not enjoy all of it at once? That's why there's a constant battle between ships that best fulfill this role, because it's such an important one. If your research didn't land you on the single-seat ships, which I think are all awesome by the way, then your two options are the Freelancer and the Cutlass. So as I said already, fans of these two ships are constantly fighting as to which one is, quote, better. There are many strong arguments for each side, which brings me to a single conclusion. Most people have realized this already, but in case you haven't, neither ship is better than the other. It just fulfills certain roles more effectively. So the purpose of this video is to help you decide if the Cutlass Black is right for you, or if your personal playstyle would be better suited in the cockpit of a Freelancer. Let's start with a basic walk around. So right off the bat, you can tell the Cutlass isn't designed to be, shall I say, fancy. The design revolves around functionality, which I'm perfectly fine with because that's what this ship is for. Now I'm not going to take too much time on the outside walk around, I just want to point out some of the key features. Starting in the front, we have our wings, cockpit, and our 4 guns. These are size 3 mounts, and by default are all equipped with gimbals. On the top we have 2 Scorpion GT215 ballistic repeaters. You know what, strike that. On the top we have 2 Scorpion GT215 ballistic miniguns. On the bottom, we have 2 CF227 Badger laser repeaters. You find these things everywhere. I actually ended up replacing these, but I used the stock loadout for quite some time, and it's fairly good. Moving on to the side of the ship, we have 2 side doors. These open insanely quickly and are really useful for quick deployment. Looking up, we have our manned turret. This is one of the features of the Cutlass that is better than that of the Freelancer. Whereas the Freelancer turret can only shoot behind and to the sides, the Cutlass turret has an almost 360-degree firing radius, with the only really blind spots being the engines. The turret comes equipped with 2 size 3 mounts, and by default is equipped with 2 CF337 Panther laser repeaters. Moving around to the back of the ship is our main cargo ramp, so let's head inside. Coming up the ramp, we are greeted with 6 jump seats. These jump seats fold down and are most likely meant to house troops. The reason I say this is because it works pretty well as a dropship because of the massive side doors. They open way quicker than the main cargo ramp in the back, so you can disembark within 3 seconds of landing and the ship can get out of the combat zone as quickly as possible. Now the cargo hold is an interesting topic. It is in fact smaller than the Freelancer's. The Freelancer has 66 SCU of space, and the Cutlass only has 46. While the Freelancer's cargo hold is larger in terms of total space, it is a lot narrower than the Cutlass. Because of this, you can't fit larger vehicles like the Cyclone inside. The Cutlass, on the other hand, fits a Cyclone inside perfectly. This makes it more ideal for military use than the Freelancer. Moving past the cargo hold is living quarters and flight deck, which is probably the area I hate the most. It has a terrible use of space. I mean, just look at this. If they were a bit more wise, you could have fit so much more in here. Regardless, you can't ignore the few nice amenities it has. This is where the turret access is, with a little section for the elevator. Now I don't know if this was done on purpose, but this makes the Cutlass more combat ready than the Freelancer. The reason being is that the Freelancer turret is up while not in use, meaning when you want to get in, you have to wait for it to come down, and then you have to wait for it to go back up. With the Cutlass, that time is cut in half, as you only need to wait to go up. This means if you are attacked, crew members will be in a combat-ready state quicker. Just thought I would point that out. We also have 4 gun racks and 2 beds. Moving up to the flight deck, we have 2 seats. When you get into them, they rise into place AH-64 Lambo style. This is a really cool feature. It gives the co-pilot, which will probably be used for system management, a nice view of incoming threats so they can prepare the vessel accordingly. You have your standard multifunctional displays, and a green colored HUD instead of blue. This is often easier to see in lit up environments or planet surfaces, plus it gives you that awesome night vision Spec Ops feel. Alright, now that you're more familiar with the vessel, it's time to dive a little bit deeper into its specifications and ideal uses. For starters, let's take a look at combat. So, if you take a look at the RSI website, the Cutlass is classified as a medium fighter. Given this classification, it wouldn't be right for it to fall short on its combat capabilities. One of the most important things while evaluating something's combat capability is, well, its weapons. That being said, let's start with the base armament. Each Scorpion GT-215 has a fire rate of 15 rounds per second. Its damage, assuming you land all 15 shots, is 318 DPS. Its range is 2,139 meters, and its 8,000 round ammo capacity gives you about 9 minutes worth of constant spraying. As you can tell, it's pretty hard to run out of ammo with these things. While the Badger can leave something to ask for, I actually really like the Scorpion. Its fire rate is really fun to play around with. I mean, just look at this. It's hard to not enjoy lasering your enemies. But keep in mind, these beasts are only a small portion of the weapons available in this thing. On to the Badgers. Each CF-227 Badger laser repeater has a fire rate of 5 rounds per second. Its damage is only 294 DPS, but accounting for the fact that it's shooting only at a third of the speed of the Scorpion, its damage per shot is greater. Its range is also lesser at only 1,712 meters. This means you really can't fully utilize your weapons until you're this far away, so this weapon's going to be your weakest point. And of course, with it being an energy weapon, it has unlimited ammo. Have fun! Your final base weapons are your turret weapons, which are actually your biggest weapons because there's no need to gimbal a turret. Each CF-337 Panther laser repeater has a DPS of 440. Its fire rate is very similar to that of the Badgers, but slightly less. Its range, however, is far superior. It can compare more to the Scorpion, with a range of 2,108 meters. And this is pretty much given, but just like the Badger, this is also an energy weapon, so unlimited ammo. If you add everything up, here's what you get. Assuming you're the best pilot, and you have an extremely experienced gunner, you can get a total DPS of 2,104 with your base guns. Your maximum engagement range, or the maximum range of their farthest shooting guns, is 2,139, and the ideal engagement range, or the maximum range where all of your guns can shoot, is 1,712. Your missiles can do a combined damage of 61,760 damage. Here's a quick comparison with the specs of the Freelancer. As you can tell, the only thing the Freelancer really excels at is its maximum engagement range. Now you can't see it here, but the Freelancer's pilot-controlled guns do a bit more damage than the Cutlass's. The reason the Cutlass ends up with more is because the turret does double the amount of damage. Its better placement than the Freelancer also gives it the upper hand. Now of course, having the biggest guns aren't the only thing that makes a difference in combat. You also have to be able to take a beating, and that's probably where the Cutlass is lacking the most. This thing is as flimsy as an overcooked piece of pasta. This is due to a few things. First of all, the default shield generator. It uses a civilian-grade stop generator, and it has 14,584 HP. Just to give you a scale of how little that is, the Aurora MR has 14,400. Yes, a ship that's maybe fifth of the size has about the same amount of shield HP as the Cutlass. So the first thing I would upgrade is the shield generator, to something like a full stop or an FR-76. The second reason is something you can't exactly fix. The Cutlass's target audience is people who want a cheap ship to do many things. This means it might not be as fancy as more expensive ships. What I'm saying, the reason the Freelancer has so much more HP is because it has 2 shield generators versus the Cutlass, which only has 1. And once the shields are gone, say goodbye to your lower mounted weapons and engines. The side wings that hold your weapons are usually the first thing to go, followed shortly by your engines. But fear not, for the Cutlass can recover from this downside, and that's its maneuverability. The Freelancer is often deemed the school bus, because its maneuverability and field of view can compare to that of a school bus. The Cutlass, on the other hand, performs exactly how a medium fighter should perform. Yes, it's not going to be as maneuverable as an F-7C or a Gladius, but for its size, it's actually pretty good. If you take a look at the Cutlass's other features, you can tell it's geared towards combat. But aside from specifications, it's hard to overlook something very important, and that's the cargo hold. As I mentioned, it is large enough to hold something like a Cyclone. This gives it another military aspect, as you're able to transport larger combat vehicles in the Freelancer. And as I've already mentioned, it's an excellent dropship, due to the 2 huge side doors it can open up, and the 6 jump seats for holding troops. If you even look at the description on the RSI website, it says it was designed for militia units. The other main thing people would use this for is cargo, as its second classification is, after all, medium freight. Now, it's hard to argue as to why the Cutlass is better than the Freelancer for hauling, because let's face it, it's not, but there are a few things it has running for it. If you are hauling commodities, then of course the Freelancer will prevail. But if you were to say, get a request to haul someone's Cyclone over to their house after their ship gets blown up, then the Freelancer is useless. The Cutlass, on the other hand, can fulfill that request easily. The Cutlass is also equipped with VTOL capabilities, so landing and taking off in tight spaces is a lot easier to accomplish. It would also have an easier time holding its own in the event that pirates jump you, but that ties back more to combat, doesn't it? A quick bonus perk of the Cutlass is one that has freshly arrived, and that is mining. Since the ROC came out, mining has become more accessible to people who don't want a prospector but want more than just hand mining. While it technically does fit inside of the Freelancer, it's a tight squeeze and it often doesn't work out ideally. With the Cutlass, you have plenty of room to house the ROC, making it the cheapest ship of its class to fit one inside. I personally don't own one yet, but I hope to buy one and try it out for myself. So all in all, should you buy the Cutlass? I'm afraid it's not an easy question to answer. It all comes down to what you think you'll be using it for and your personal preference on things. If you think you'll be doing more combat, go with the Cutlass. But wait, before you just go buy that, I want to say something. With the Freelancer, you can kinda get away with being reckless. But with the Cutlass, it's only more useful in the Freelancer in combat if you know what you're doing. Invest in good coolers, and overclock your shields. Always be on the move. Make sure you have a good gunner. Find a loadout to your liking. If you don't follow these things, I can guarantee you'll end up hating the Cutlass in combat and will default to the Freelancer, because it's more beginner friendly. If you are a new player, or you just really suck at flying, the Freelancer would probably better suit you in combat. But if you're willing to take the time to become familiar with your ship, learn strategies, and play with ideal configurations, the Cutlass can become so much more capable. If you're leaning towards the hauling side, well, I would go with the Freelancer. It has more cargo space, and it's just a really better overall freighter. If you can't decide, just buy the Cutlass. It's cheaper, and if you end up not liking it, you can always upgrade to the Freelancer. Before I deliver my outro, I want to thank DPS Calculator. It's a really handy tool that lets you customize loadouts of ships to see how it affects its DPS, power draw, stuff like that. You can also add new parts to your cart and it will add up the price for you. All the information regarding stats I got from there, so I really suggest checking them out. I'll post a link in the description below. Well, our journey has come to an end, I'm afraid. If you enjoy my content, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button down below. It helps me in my future videos. Also be sure to check out my Twitch channel at twitch.tv/PuffinKingOfficial to check out some of my live streams. If you have any questions or feedback, I highly encourage letting me know about those in the comments below. As always, thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you guys next time in the verse.